After being thrown out of the house by my own son, it was just my granddaughter and me, homeless, with $580 left. Then I spent that last money on a broken bus. And she said to me, "Grandma, what a strange smell." When we stepped inside, you won't believe what we saw next. But let me tell you how I got there. It all started on a Tuesday morning. Robert arrived at the house early. I heard his pickup truck park outside. I thought he was coming to visit me. I hadn't seen him for weeks. I opened the door with a smile. He walked in without saying hello. He had that serious face he gets when he comes to tell me something I won't like. "Mum, we need to talk," he said without looking me in the eye. "Of course, son. Do you want some coffee?" "No." "This won't take long," he said. He sat down on the living room sofa, that sofa where he used to sit as a boy watching television, where I patched up his scraped knees, where I taught him to tie his shoelaces. Now he was there like a stranger. "Mum, this house is mine," he said. "Dad left it to me when he died. You only live here because I allow it." His words hit me like cold water. My husband had died 5 years before. He never told me the house wasn't in my name. I never thought it mattered. It was my home. The place where I raised my son, where I grew old, where I kept all my memories. "Robert, what are you trying to say?" I asked slowly. "I need you to leave," he answered. "Jessica is pregnant again. We need the space. We need privacy. You can't stay here anymore." Jessica was his wife, a woman who never liked me, who always made me feel like I was in the way in my own house, who would snatch my granddaughter from my arms as if I were dirty, as if I were dangerous. "But Robert, this is my house. My whole life is here." "It was your house, Mom. Now it's mine. And I'm asking you to leave." "You're not asking. You're kicking me out." "Call it whatever you want. You have 3 days to pack your things and get out." He stood up and walked toward the door. He didn't turn to look at me. He didn't say anything else. He just left. I heard his pickup truck drive away, and I stood there in the middle of the living room, alone, feeling the floor move beneath my feet. I didn't cry. I had no tears left for things like that. That night I didn't sleep. I stayed sitting on the bed looking at the walls. Those walls that I painted myself. Those walls that saw my son grow up. Those walls that were now expelling me. The next day I started packing. I didn't have much. Old clothes, some photographs, a rosary my mother gave me, memories that no longer mattered. I put it all into 2 worn cloth bags. That was all that remained of 62 years of life. On the 3rd day, Robert returned, this time with Jessica and my granddaughter, Lily. The girl was 7 years old. Big eyes, hair as black as mine. She was the only good thing I had left in this world. "Grandma, why are you packing?" she asked, running toward me. "Because I'm leaving, sweetheart," I replied, trying to smile. "Where to?" "I don't know yet. I can go with you." Jessica pulled her arm hard. "Don't say silly things, Lily. Your grandmother is leaving because she wants to. We have nothing to do with this." A lie. It was all a lie. But I didn't say anything. I just hugged my granddaughter. She smelled like soap. She smelled like innocence. She smelled like everything I was losing. "Are you done, Mum?" Robert asked from the doorway. "Yes," I replied, my voice breaking. "Good. I need the keys." I took the keys from my pocket, those keys I had carried for 30 years. I put them in his hand. He put them away without saying thank you, without saying anything. I picked up my 2 bags and walked out. Lily followed me, crying. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I turned around, I would break into pieces right there. I walked down the street aimlessly. It was cold. The sky was grey. People passed quickly beside me. No one looked at me. I was invisible. Just another old woman with 2 bags, one among many. I sat down on a park bench. I took out my phone. I checked my bank account. $580. That was all. My Social Security check was due in 2 weeks. But 2 weeks is a long time when you have nowhere to sleep. I thought about calling someone, but I had no one. I spent so many years caring for my son that I forgot to care for my friendships. I spent so many years being a mother that I forgot to be myself. The sun began to set. I was still sitting there, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go. Then I heard footsteps running behind me. I turned around and saw Lily. She had a small backpack on her back. Her eyes were red. Her breathing was heavy. "Grandma, wait!" she cried. "Lily, what are you doing here?" I asked, scared. "I'm coming with you. I don't want to stay with them." "You can't do that, sweetheart. Your parents will look for you." "Let them look. I'm coming with you." I hugged her tight. I felt her heart beating against my chest. And in that moment, everything changed. I wasn't alone anymore. I had someone who needed me, someone who chose me when everyone else had discarded me. "It's okay," I whispered. "We'll go together." We walked the streets until night fell. We looked for a place to sleep. We found a small park with a covered bench. We sat there. Lily snuggled against me. I held her tight so she wouldn't be cold. "Grandma, I'm scared," she said in a tiny voice. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." We didn't sleep well that night. It was cold. The bench was hard. Every noise scared us. But we were together, and that was all that mattered. The next day, I woke up with my body aching. Lily was still asleep. I let her rest a little longer. I got up and walked to a nearby convenience store. I bought a loaf of bread and a carton of milk. I spent $5. I had $575 left. When I returned, Lily was already awake. We ate in silence. She didn't ask anything. She just looked at me with those big eyes full of trust that I didn't know if I deserved. "Grandma, what are we going to do?" she asked when we finished. "I don't know yet, but we're going to be fine." "How do you know?" "Because I have you, and you have me." We spent the day walking around the city, looking for options, looking for answers. I saw a shelter, but it was full. I saw rooms for rent, but they cost more than I had. I saw the world moving fast while I stayed behind. That afternoon, as we walked down an old street, I saw something. A bus, old, rusty, with a sign that said, "For sale, $500. I stood looking at it. It was ugly. It was dirty. The tires looked worn, but it had a roof. It had walls. It had doors that could be locked. "Lily, look at that," I said, pointing at the bus. "What, Grandma?" "A place where we can sleep." She looked at it with wide eyes. She didn't say anything. She just squeezed my hand tighter. I knocked on the house next door. An old man came out. He had a grey beard and big hands. "Good afternoon. Is the bus for sale?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am. $500. It doesn't run anymore, but it's all there." "Can I see inside?" "Sure. Let me get the key." The man opened the bus door with a rusty key. The door creaked. It sounded like something that hadn't been opened in years. I went up first. Lily came behind me, holding my hand. and then we smelled it. "Grandma, what a strange smell," Lily said, covering her nose. She was right. The smell was strong. It was a mixture of mold, dampness, rusty metal, and something else I couldn't identify. It smelled like confinement, like abandonment, like years of neglect. "It's normal, Mom," the man said from outside. "It's been closed for 3 years, but with a good cleaning it'll be fine." I looked around. The bus was bigger than it looked from the outside. It had about 15 old seats, some broken, others with the stuffing coming out. The windows were dirty. The metal floor had rust stains. The roof was leaking water in one corner. It was ugly. It was old. It was everything I didn't want. But it was a roof. I walked to the back. There was a small space where luggage used to be stored. It was empty. It smelled worse back there, but it could be used for storage. I returned to the front. I sat in the driver's seat. The steering wheel was stiff. The pedals didn't work. "It doesn't start, does it?" I asked. "No, Mum. The engine is dead, but the structure is sound. The doors close. The windows too. It just needs cleaning." I got off the bus. I looked at Lily. She was looking at me, waiting, trusting me, trusting that I knew what I was doing. But I didn't know anything. I just knew that we had to sleep somewhere, and that the park was not an option. "How much did you say it cost?" I asked again. $500, Mom. It's a good price. You can live peacefully here. No one will bother you. This land is mine, and I hardly ever come by." "I have 480, I lied. "That's all I have." The man looked at me. He looked at the girl. He looked at my 2 old bags. He sighed. "All right, 480, but you have to give it to me right now." I took out my phone. I transferred the money to him. He checked his account. He nodded. He gave me the key. "It's yours, Mom. God bless you." He walked away slowly. I stood there with that key in my hand. I felt like I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. I had just spent almost all my money on a bus that was good for nothing, on an old piece of metal that smelled awful, but it was done. "Come on, Lily," I said, trying to sound confident. We went back inside. I closed the door behind us. The sound of the lock clicking was loud, final, as if something had closed forever. I sat down on one of the seats. Lily sat beside me. We both sat in silence, looking at that dirty, abandoned space. That space that was now our home. "Grandma, are we going to live here?" Lily asked in a quiet voice. "Yes, sweetheart. For now, yes." "But it's very dirty." "We'll clean it. Tomorrow we'll buy things to clean it. It will be fine. You'll see." She didn't say anything else. She just rested her head on my shoulder. I stroked her hair. I felt a lump in my throat. I felt like crying. But I didn't. I couldn't. If I cried, she would cry. And I needed her to believe that everything was going to be fine, even if I didn't believe it. That night we slept there. I used my sweater as a pillow for Lily. I slept sitting up. I couldn't lie down. The seats were too dirty. It was cold. The wind was coming in through the cracks in the windows. Every noise woke me up. Every shadow scared me. But we were safe. We were under a roof, and that was more than we had yesterday. The next day, I woke up with an aching body. My back hurt. My neck hurt. My legs hurt. Lily was still asleep. I let her rest while I got off the bus. Outside, the sun was just coming up. The air was cold. I walked a little to stretch my legs. I looked at the land where the bus was. It was large. It was full of tall grass and old trash, but it was isolated. No one was going to bother us. I went back to the bus. Lily was already awake. "Good morning, Grandma," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep well?" "More or less. I'm hungry." "Me too." We got off and walked to a store 3 blocks away. I bought bread, milk, soap, bleach, and cleaning rags. I spent $40. I had 60 left. We returned to the bus. We ate the bread sitting on the entrance steps. The bread was good, warm, soft. For a moment I forgot where I was. I only felt the taste, the warmth, the company. After eating, we started cleaning. I scrubbed the seats with soap and water. Lily cleaned the windows. We worked all morning. The water came out black. My hands turned red. My arms hurt. But I kept going, because I had no other option. At noon, we stopped to rest. I sat on the bus floor. Lily sat next to me. We were both sweaty, tired, but the bus looked a little better. Just a little. "Grandma," Lily said suddenly. "Yes, sweetheart?" "Why did my dad kick you out of the house?" Her question hit me in the chest. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't know how to explain that sometimes children forget their mothers, that sometimes the people you love are the ones who hurt you the most, that sometimes there is no explanation for cruelty. "Because they needed the space," I replied. "But it was your house." "Yes, but now it's theirs." "That's not fair." "No, sweetheart, it's not fair." She hugged me. I hugged her back. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. I felt that I was not alone, that I had a reason to keep going, that I had someone who needed me as much as I needed her. We kept cleaning all afternoon. When we finished, the bus no longer smelled so bad. The seats were still old, but at least they were clean. The floor was a little shiny. The windows were clear enough to see through. It wasn't much, but it was something. That night we ate bread again. We didn't have money for anything else. I had $20 left. My Social Security check was due in 10 days. 10 days is a long time when you only have $20. I did the math in my head. $2 per day. That was all we could spend. Bread and water. Nothing else. We had to hold out. Lily fell asleep early. I stayed awake looking out the window. Everything was dark outside. Silent. I felt fear. Fear of not being able to take care of her. Fear of having brought her into this. Fear of failing her like I failed my son. But then I saw her sleeping. Peaceful. Trusting. And I knew I couldn't fail. Not this time. This time I had to be strong. I had to find a way to get ahead, even if I didn't know how. The following days were the same. We woke up. We ate little. We walked around the city looking for something. I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just looking for an opportunity, a way out, a light. But I didn't find anything. One afternoon, while we were walking through the farmer's market, I saw a woman selling barbecue. She was sitting on a plastic chair. She had a large pot. People came up, bought, left. She counted her money and smiled. I stood watching her, thinking. I knew how to cook. My mother taught me. I made good Thanksgiving turkey, good mashed potatoes, good biscuits. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could sell food. But I needed money to start, and I had none. We returned to the bus. I sat on the steps. Lily was playing with some stones she had found. I looked at the ground, thinking, calculating, dreaming of impossible things. Then I saw something shine in the grass. I stood up. I walked toward it. I crouched down. It was a coin, a $1 coin. I picked it up. I cleaned it with my hand. One coin. Just one coin. But in that moment, I felt as if I had found a treasure, because it reminded me of something. It reminded me that sometimes things appear when you least expect them, that sometimes life gives you small signs, that sometimes you just have to keep looking. I put the coin in my pocket. I went back to Lily. "Did you find something, Grandma?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart. I found hope." She looked at me confused. I smiled at her. She smiled too, without understanding. But it didn't matter, because I was starting to understand something. I understood that I had lost everything: my house, my son, my dignity, my place in the world. But I still had something. I had Lily. I had my hands. I had my knowledge. I had my will. And maybe that was enough to start. That night, while Lily slept, I stayed awake again. But this time, I didn't just feel fear. I felt something else. Something small. Something fragile. But something real. I felt that maybe I could do it. That maybe I could get up. That maybe not all was lost. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I knew I had to try. Because it was no longer just for me. It was for her. For that girl who chose me when no one else did. For that girl who trusted me when I no longer trusted myself. And I was not going to let her down. The next day, I woke up with an idea. It wasn't a great idea, but it was something. I had seen a flea market a few blocks from the bus. A small market where people sold fruits, vegetables, used clothes. Maybe I could sell something there. Maybe I could earn some money. But what could I sell? I had nothing. I stayed sitting, thinking. Lily was still sleeping. The sun was coming in through the dirty windows of the bus. It was a little warm. I closed my eyes and thought of my mother. Of everything she taught me. To cook. To sew. To fix broken things. And then I knew. I could sew. I could mend clothes. People always need alterations. Pants that tear. Shirts with missing buttons. Dresses that need adjustments. I knew how to do all that. But I needed thread. Needles. Maybe an old sewing machine. I needed tools. And I didn't have money to buy them. I counted the money I had left. $18. That was all. The Social Security check was due in 8 days. 8 more days of surviving on almost nothing. Lily woke up. She looked at me with those big eyes. "Good morning, Grandma." "Good morning, sweetheart. We're going to walk for a bit." "Where to?" "To look for something I need." We left the bus. We walked through the neighborhood. I looked for thrift stores. I found one 6 blocks away. We went in. It smelled of old clothes and dust. There were boxes full of things people no longer wanted. Clothes, shoes, books, broken toys. I searched through the boxes. I found a box with old threads. Some spools still had plenty of thread. I found needles. I found buttons of different colors. I found rusty scissors, but they still cut. "How much does all this cost?" I asked the lady at the counter. $5, she answered without looking at me. I gave her the money. I put everything in a plastic bag. We left there. I had $13 left. I felt fear again, but I also felt something else. I felt that I was doing something, that I was taking control, even if it was just of something small. We returned to the bus. I took out everything I had bought. I put it on one of the clean seats. Lily sat next to me, looking at everything curiously. "What are you going to do, Grandma?" "I'm going to sew. I'm going to mend clothes. And I'm going to sell my services." "How?" "I'm going to go to the market. I'm going to offer my services. People always need alterations. What if they don't hire you?" "Then I'll look for something else. But I have to try." I spent the afternoon organizing my things. I arranged the threads by color. I tested the needles. I tied a knot on a piece of fabric to practice. My hands still remembered. They still knew what to do. The next day, I went to the market. I carried my bag with the threads and needles. I looked for an empty space between the stalls. I sat on the ground. I put a piece of cardboard in front of me with the words written in pen. Clothing alterations, seams, buttons. Lily sat next to me. We both waited. People passed by. No one looked. No one asked. It was as if we were invisible. An hour passed, 2 hours, 3 hours, nothing. I felt like crying, like leaving, like giving up. But I didn't. I stayed sitting there, waiting, because I had no other option. Then a lady stopped. She was a young woman. She had a pair of pants in her hand. "Excuse me, do you fix pants?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. What do you need?" "I need you to hem them. They're too long." "Of course. Let me see." She showed me the pants. They were denim. They needed to be taken up about 2 inches. It was easy. I could do it. "How much do you charge?" she asked. $5, I replied, not knowing if it was too much or too little. "That's fine. When will they be ready?" "Tomorrow. At the same time." "Perfect. Here's my number. Call me when they're ready." She gave me her phone number. She left. I stayed sitting there with those pants in my hands. My first job. My first opportunity. Lily hugged me. I hugged her too. We both smiled. It was a small thing, but it was a start. We returned to the bus. That night I worked on the pants. I didn't have good light. I used my phone's flashlight. My eyes hurt. My fingers got tired. But I kept going, stitch after stitch, until I finished. It turned out well. It was straight. It looked professional. The next day I went back to the market. The lady arrived. I gave her her pants. She checked them. She smiled. "They're perfect. Thank you." She gave me $5. I put them in my pocket. $5. It wasn't much, but it was mine. It was money I had earned with my own hands. I stayed at the market all day. 2 more people came. One wanted buttons sewn onto a shirt. Another wanted a torn skirt fixed. I charged $3 for each. I worked right there. Fast. Well, at the end of the day, I had $11. Added to the 13 I had left, that was 24. I bought bread, milk, fruit. I spent $7. I had 17 left. But I had eaten better. Lily had eaten better. And that was worth more than anything. The following days, I kept going to the market. More people came every day. People were starting to know me. They were starting to trust me. They brought their pants, their dresses, their shirts. I fixed them. Fast. Well, cheaply. I earned between $10 and $15 a day. It wasn't much, but it was enough to eat, to survive, to keep going. One afternoon while I was sewing, an older woman came. She had an old dress in her hands. A blue dress with embroidered flowers. It was torn in several places. "Can you fix this?" she asked in a soft voice. I checked it. It was very damaged. It was going to take time. It was going to be difficult. "Yes, I can, but it will cost a little more. $15. "That's fine. I need it for Sunday. It's for my granddaughter's wedding." "I'll have it ready," I said. She gave me the dress. Before leaving, she looked me straight in the eye. "What's your name?" she asked. "Sweet. Sweet Smith." "Nice to meet you, Sweet. I'm Martha." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Martha." She left. I was left with that dress in my hands. It was beautiful, old, full of history, full of love. That night I worked on the dress, stitch by stitch, carefully, patiently. I fixed every tier, I reinforced every seam, I put on new buttons, I ironed the embroidered flowers. It took me 3 nights to finish it. But when I finished, it was gorgeous. It looked new. On Sunday, Martha returned. I gave her the dress. She opened it. She looked at it. Her eyes filled with tears. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "My mother made this dress 50 years ago. I thought it couldn't be fixed anymore." "Everything can be fixed, Mom. It just needs the right hands." She gave me $20. I told her it was 15. She insisted. "You deserve it. You worked magic with this." I put the money away. Martha left. I stayed sitting there, feeling something strange in my chest, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt pride. I felt that I had done something good, something that mattered. The days kept passing. My Social Security check finally arrived. $300. I added it to what I had earned sewing. I had $420. It was the most money I had had since they kicked me out of the house. I bought more thread, more needles. I bought a small lamp to work at night. I bought food for a whole week. Lily ate well. I ate well. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel hungry. One afternoon, while I was working at the market, Martha returned. She brought a large bag. "Sweet, I brought you something," she said, smiling. She opened the bag. Inside was a sewing machine. Old, heavy, but it worked. "It's yours," she said. "I don't use it anymore. You'll put it to better use." "Mrs. Martha, I can't accept this." "Of course you can. You have talent, sweet. You have golden hands. Don't waste it sitting on the ground. Use it. Grow." She hugged me. I hugged her too. I cried. I couldn't help it. It had been so long since someone had given me something without expecting anything in return. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you." That night I took the machine to the bus. I placed it on a wooden box I had found. I plugged it in. I tested it. It worked perfectly. The sound was beautiful, like music. Lily looked at me excitedly. "Grandma, now it looks like a shop." I smiled. She was right. I was no longer just a woman sitting on the ground with needles. Now I had tools. I had equipment. I had possibilities. The following days I worked faster. I could do more alterations in less time. People started coming more often. They started bringing bigger jobs, curtains, tablecloths, quilts. I accepted everything. I worked day and night. My fingers hurt. My back hurt. But I didn't care, because every stitch was a step forward. Every job was proof that I had value, that I could do it, that I was still alive. 2 months passed since I bought the bus. 2 months of sewing. 2 months of getting up every day with a purpose. I no longer felt so much fear. I no longer woke up with that weight on my chest. I had a routine. I had work. I had Lily with me. The bus no longer smelled bad. I had cleaned it so many times that now it smelled of soap and clean fabric. I had organized everything, the threads in one box, the needles in another, the sewing machine in its place. It looked like a small workshop. One afternoon while I was sewing at the market, Martha arrived again. But this time she didn't bring clothes to fix. She brought a plastic chair. "So you don't have to sit on the ground," she said, setting it down in front of me. "Mrs. Martha, you've already given me so much. And I'll keep giving you more as long as I can. Because I see something in you, sweet. I see strength. I see talent. And that cannot be wasted." She sat on the ground next to me. She looked at my work. She looked at Lily, playing nearby. She looked at everything with those wise eyes that only people who have lived a lot have. "How long have you been doing this?" she asked. 2 months. "And how much do you earn a day?" "Between $15 and $20. Some days more, others less." She nodded thoughtfully. Then she looked at me seriously. "That's not enough, sweet. You have to charge more. Your work is worth more." "But if I charge more, people won't come." "People who value good work always pay. Those who don't want to pay are the ones who don't value anything. Let them go. You focus on doing a job so good that people have no choice but to pay you what you deserve." Her words kept spinning in my head. She was right. I charged little because I was afraid. Afraid that people would leave, afraid of running out of work, afraid of having nothing again. But fear was keeping me from growing. The next day, I raised my prices. Instead of $5 for a hem, I charged $8. Instead of 3 for a button, I charged 5. I thought people would be angry, that they would look for someone cheaper. But that didn't happen. People kept coming. Some asked why I had raised the prices. I explained to them. I showed them the quality of my work. I showed them the time it took to do everything well. And they understood. Because good work speaks for itself, I started earning more. $25 a day, 30, some days up to 40. It was no longer just about surviving. Now I could save. I could plan. I could think about the future. One morning, while I was organizing my things on the bus, I heard a knock at the door. I opened it. It was Martha. But this time she didn't come alone. She brought another lady with her. "Sweet, this is my friend Catherine. She needs to talk to you." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Catherine. How can I help you?" Catherine was a thin woman. She had short grey hair, tired eyes. She spoke softly. "Martha told me about you. She said you're very good at sewing. I have a small business. I sell clothes in a thrift store. Used clothes that I fix up and sell as new. I need someone to help me with the sewing." I looked at her, surprised. I wasn't expecting that. "I can help you. What kind of alterations do you need?" "Everything. Pants, dresses, jackets. I have a lot of work. More than I can handle alone. I can pay you by the piece, and I'll always have work for you." I felt my heart beating fast. This was more than fixing clothes at the market. This was steady work. This was an opportunity. "How much do you pay per piece?" I asked. "It depends on the job. A simple hem is $5. Something more complicated can be up to 20. But you'll always have work. Always." "I accept," I said without thinking much. Catherine smiled. She took a large bag out of her car. It was full of clothes. "This is to start. When you finish, call me, and I'll bring you more." They left. I was left there with that bag full of work. I took out the clothes. I counted the pieces. 20 pairs of pants, 10 dresses, 5 jackets. It was a whole week's worth of work. Lily helped me organize everything. We separated them by type of alteration, by difficulty, by color. We worked together as a team. That night I started sewing. I worked late. The machine made its constant sound, stitch after stitch, piece after piece. My eyes were tired, but I kept going. Because this was important. Because this could change everything. I finished everything in 5 days. I called Catherine. She came to pick up the clothes. She checked every piece, one by one, slowly. "It's perfect, sweet. Everything is perfect. How much do I owe you?" I did the math. $180. She gave me the money in cash. Then she took another bag out of her car. More clothes, more work. I'll bring this to you tomorrow, she said. But if you want, I can leave it right now. Leave it. I'll get started. From that day on, Catherine became my steady client. Every week she brought me work. Every week I finished it. Quickly. Well, without errors. I started earning more money, $400 a week. Added to my Social Security check and what I earned at the market, it was almost $600 a month. It was more money than I had had in years. I bought a mattress for Lily and me. We put it in the back of the bus. We no longer slept on the hard seats. Now we had a soft place. Warm, comfortable. I bought a better lamp. I bought more thread, more needles, more tools. Everything I bought was an investment. Everything made me work better, faster, with higher quality. Lily started helping me more. She learned to thread needles, to separate buttons by colour, to fold the finished clothes. She was my assistant, my companion, my reason for keeping going. One night while I was working, she sat next to me. "Grandma, I'm proud of you," she said in that soft voice of hers. Her words broke me. She hugged me. I hugged her too. I cried without making a sound. I cried because someone was proud of me, because someone saw me, because someone valued what I did. "Thank you, sweetheart," I whispered. "Thank you for being with me." "I'll always be with you, Grandma. Always." Another 2 months passed. I had been on the bus for 4 months. 4 months of working, 4 months of growing. The bus no longer looked like an abandoned place. Now it had curtains that I had sewn myself. It had organization. It had light. It had life. The people in the neighborhood started to know me. I was no longer the invisible lady. Now I was Sweet the seamstress, the one who fixes anything, the one who works miracles with a needle. One day while I was working at the market, an older man arrived. He brought an old suit, black, with thin pinstripes. "Excuse me, are you Sweet Smith?" he asked. "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" "They told me you are the best seamstress in this area. I need to fix this suit. It's for my wife's funeral. It's the only suit I have, and it's torn." I checked it. The sleeves were coming undone. It was missing 2 buttons. The lining was torn inside. It was a lot of work, but it was important. "I can fix it, sir. When do you need it?" "In 3 days." "I'll have it ready. How much do you charge?" $30. He looked at me surprised. Maybe he thought it was a lot. Maybe he thought it was too little. I don't know. But he nodded. "That's fine. Here is my number. Call me when it's ready." That night I worked on the suit. Carefully, respectfully, because I knew what it meant. It was a man's last goodbye to his wife. It was a farewell. It was love turned into fabric. I sewed every stitch thinking about that. About love. About loss. About the importance of doing things well. I finished the suit in 2 days. I ironed it carefully. I hung it on a hanger. It looked new. It looked dignified. The gentleman came to pick it up. When he saw it, his eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you for doing this so carefully." "It was the least I could do, sir. I am so sorry for your loss." He gave me $50. I told him it was 30. He insisted. "You gave me back my dignity. That's worth more than $20. He left with his suit. I was left there with those $50 in my hand. But more than the money, something else remained. The certainty that what I did mattered, that my hands could give more than just seams. They could give dignity. They could give comfort. They could give hope. And that was priceless. Martha was right. I had talent. I had value. And it was about time I believed it too. That night, while Lily slept, I sat on the bus steps again. I looked at the stars. I thought about everything that had happened, about everything I had lost, about everything I had gained. I had lost a house, but I had gained a home. I had lost my son, but I had gained my granddaughter. I had lost my place in the world, but I had built a new one, and that new place was mine. No one had given it to me. I had created it with my own hands, with my own effort, with my own strength, and no one was going to take it away from me. 6 months after buying the bus, my life was completely different. I was no longer just fixing clothes at the market. Now I had clients who came directly to the bus, people who looked for me, who asked for me, who trusted my work. Catherine still brought me work every week, but now I also had other clients. The woman who sold used wedding dresses, the man who had a children's clothing store, the woman who bought old jackets and converted them into modern pieces. Everyone knew me. Everyone knew my work was good, fast, reliable. I was earning between $800 and $1,000 a month. It was more money than I had earned in my whole life. I saved everything I could. I kept the money in a metal box that I hid under the mattress. I already had more than $2,000 saved. I didn't know what I was saving it for. I just knew I needed to have it. Just in case. For security. For peace of mind. Lily turned 8 years old. I threw her a small party on the bus. I invited Martha and Catherine. I bought a cake, candles, soda. I decorated the bus with coloured paper that I cut and glued myself. When Lily blew out the candles and made a wish, I made one too. I wished for this to last, for this peace to last, for this life we had built not to break. The days kept passing peacefully. I worked. Lily went to a public school near the market. I enrolled her with the money I had saved. I needed her to study. I needed her to have opportunities I never had. Every morning I took her to school. Every afternoon I picked her up. We did homework together on the bus. She read. I sewed. We had a routine. We had stability. One afternoon while I was working, a young man came in. He looked about 30 years old. He had a camera hanging around his neck. "Excuse me, are you Sweet Smith?" he asked. "Yes, how can I help you?" "My name is George. I'm a journalist for the local newspaper. I would like to interview you." I looked at him confused. An interview? Me? Why? "I've heard a lot about you. People talk about your story, about how you started sewing on the market floor, about how you now have your own business in a bus. It's inspiring. I would like to write about you." I felt scared. I didn't want anyone to write about me. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to work in peace. "I don't know, Mr. George. I'm nobody important." "That's exactly why. Because you are like many people. People who fight, who don't give up, who build something out of nothing. Those are the stories that matter." Martha was nearby. She heard the conversation. She came closer. "Sweet. Accept it. It's good for people to know. It's good for other women to see that it can be done." I looked at Martha, then at George, then at the bus, at my sewing machine, at everything I had built. "All right," I finally said, "but I want you to know something. I didn't do this alone. I had help. I had people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." "I'm going to write that too." George asked me many questions. I told him everything. How my son kicked me out of the house. How I spent my last dollars on the bus. How Lily came with me. How Martha helped me. How I started sewing. How I built this piece by piece. He took photos of the bus, of my machine, of my hands sewing, of Lily doing her homework in a corner. 2 weeks later, the article came out in the newspaper. Martha brought it to me. I read it sitting on the bus steps. There was a large picture of me. The title said, "From the Street to the Bus, the story of Sweet Smith and her business on wheels." I cried reading it, not because it said false things, but because it told the truth. And the truth hurt, but it also healed. The next day, more people started coming. People who had read the article, who wanted to meet me, who brought clothes to fix, who congratulated me, who told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave, I just felt tired, but grateful. One of those people was a young woman. Her name was Sarah. She looked about 25 years old. She brought a small child by the hand. "Mrs. Sweet, I read your story," she said in a trembling voice, "and I felt like I could relate. I'm also going through something difficult. My husband left me. I have to support my son alone. I don't know how to sew, but I know how to cook. I thought maybe you could give me some advice." I sat down with her. I gave her water. I listened to her story. It was similar to mine. Abandonment, fear, desperation. But she also had something I had. She had the desire to get ahead. "The first thing you have to do is believe you can," I told her. "Then you have to start. It doesn't matter how small the step is. Just start. Sell food at the market, make biscuits, do whatever it takes, but start." She cried. I cried too. We hugged. Two women who didn't know each other but shared the same pain, the same struggle. Before leaving, she thanked me. She told me she was going to try. I believed her, because I saw in her eyes the same thing I saw in mine. Months ago, I saw determination. The following days, I kept working. But now something had changed. I was no longer just sewing to earn money. Now I was sewing knowing that my story was inspiring others, that my struggle was not just mine, that somehow I had become an example, and that gave me strength. One afternoon, while I was working, I received a call. It was a number I didn't know. "Hello?" I answered. "Sweet," a man's voice said on the other end. "Yes. Who is speaking?" "It's Robert, your son." I felt the air go out of me. My son, the one who kicked me out, the one who abandoned me, the one who took everything from me. Now he was calling me. "What do you want, Robert?" I asked in a cold voice. "I saw the article in the newspaper. I saw your picture. I saw what you're doing, and I wanted to congratulate you." A lie. I knew it was a lie. I could feel it in his voice. He wasn't calling to congratulate me. He was calling for something else. "What do you really want, Robert?" Silence. Then I heard his voice again. Softer, more calculated. "I need to talk to you. I need to see you." "What for?" "Just to talk, Mum. Just that. To talk." "I have nothing to talk about with you." I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating fast. Lily looked at me worried. "Who was that, Grandma?" "Nobody important, sweetheart. Nobody important." But I knew that wasn't true. It was important, because he was my son, and no matter how much I wanted to hate him, no matter how much I wanted to forget him, I couldn't, because a mother never forgets, never stops loving, even when it hurts. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about Robert, about why he called me, about what he wanted. I knew it wasn't to congratulate me. Robert never did anything without a selfish motive. The next day, while I was working at the market, I saw him. He was standing far away, watching me, When our eyes met, he started walking toward me. I felt panic. I wanted to run, but I didn't. I stayed sitting, waiting, with my back straight, with my head held high. "Hello, Mum," he said when he reached me. "Robert?" He looked different, thinner, more tired. He had dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. "I need to talk to you," he said, looking around. "Is there somewhere we can talk in private?" "Here is fine. Say what you have to say." He sighed. He ran his hand over his face. Then he looked at me with those eyes I knew so well. Those eyes that looked at me with love when he was a child, which now looked at me with something different, with need. "Mum, I need money," he finally said. There it was. The truth. He didn't come to congratulate me. He didn't come to apologize. He came to ask me for money. "I don't have money to give you, Robert," I lied. "But the newspaper says you're doing well. It says you have your business, that you earn well. I earn enough to live, to take care of your daughter. That's all." "Lily? Where is Lily?" "She's with me, where she's always been since you let her go." He fell silent. He looked at the ground. Then he looked at me again. "Mum, please. I need the money. Jessica and I have problems. We owe rent. We owe money. If we don't pay, they're going to evict us." I felt something in my chest. It wasn't pity. It was something more complicated. It was anger mixed with pain, mixed with love. Because no matter how much it hurt, no matter how much he had hurt me, he was still my son. But I was no longer the same woman he had kicked out of his house. "Robert, when you kicked me out, you didn't care if I had money. You didn't care if I had somewhere to sleep. You didn't care about anything. Now you have problems and you come to ask me for help. Why should I help you?" "Because I'm your son. And I was your mother. And that didn't matter." He fell silent. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes. Something close to shame. But he didn't say anything else. He just turned around and left. I watched him walk away. I felt like calling him, like giving him the money, like saving him as I had always saved him. But I didn't, because this time I had to save myself. After Robert left, I stayed sitting in my chair looking at the street. People passed by. They bought. They sold. They talked. They laughed. Life went on as usual. But I felt different, as if something inside me had just changed forever. Martha arrived later. She sat beside me without saying anything. She just took my hand. "I saw him come," she said softly. "What did he want?" "Money. He wanted money." "And did you give it to him?" "No." Martha squeezed my hand. She smiled. "Well done, sweet. Well done." That night while Lily slept, I stayed awake thinking about Robert, about how I raised him, about everything I did for him, about everything I sacrificed, and I wondered where I went wrong. Where did my parenting fail? Why did my son become a man who could kick his own mother out into the street? Maybe I would never know. Maybe it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I had said no, and that was enough. The following days, I kept working. My business was growing more and more. Now I had to turn down work because I couldn't keep up. I worked from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. My hands hurt. My eyes burned. But I didn't complain, because this was mine. This was something I built, and no one was going to take it away from me. One morning, while I was organizing the day's work, Catherine arrived. She had her usual bag with more clothes, but this time she also brought something else. a big smile. Sweet, I have a proposal for you, she said excitedly. Tell me, Mrs. Catherine. I'm going to open another shop, bigger, downtown, and I want you to be my partner. I looked at her, not understanding. Partner. Me. A woman who was sleeping in the park 6 months ago. I don't understand, Ma'am. How can I be your partner? You bring your work, your talent. I provide the location, the initial money. We both win. We both grow. What do you say? I felt fear again, that old fear that was always there, waiting, telling me I wasn't enough, that I didn't deserve those opportunities. But then I looked around. I looked at my sewing machine. I looked at the bus that no longer smelled bad. I looked at everything I had accomplished in such a short time, and I knew that fear was lying. I accept, I said. I accept, Mrs. Catherine. We hugged. She cried. I cried too. Two hard-working women building something together, something big, something real. The following weeks were intense. Catherine looked for the location. I kept sewing, saving, preparing for what was coming. Lily helped me every afternoon after school. She folded clothes, she organized buttons, she swept the bus. You are my best assistant, I told her. And you are my best grandma, she replied, smiling. A month later, we opened the shop. It was small, but pretty. It had 2 sewing machines, one for Catherine, one for me. It had displays with fixed clothes. It had a sign outside that read, Catherine and Sweet Alterations. My name was there, on a sign, in a real business. The first day we sold 3 pieces. We made $60. We split it, 30 for each of us. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The second week we sold more. The third, even more. People started coming, some because of the newspaper article, others because they were recommended, others because they simply passed by and came in. I was still living on the bus. I didn't want to spend money on rent yet. I preferred to save. I preferred to be sure that this was going to last before committing to big expenses. Lily was still going to school. She got good grades. She had friends. She was happy. And that was all that mattered to me. One afternoon, while I was working at the shop, a woman came in. She was young, elegant. She wore an expensive dress and expensive shoes. She looked out of place in our little shop. Good afternoon. I'm looking for Sweet Smith, she said, looking around. That's me. How can I help you? My name is Amy White. I own a boutique on the north side of the city. I read about you. I saw your work, and I would like to make you a proposal. Another proposal. In less than 2 months. This was unreal. Tell me, Mrs. Amy. I need a reliable seamstress, someone who knows how to do delicate alterations, formal dresses, designer clothes. I pay well, very well, and I always have work. How much do you pay? It depends on the piece, but on average, $50 per dress, altered, sometimes more. $50 for a single dress. It was more than I earned in a full day at the market. I'm interested, I said, trying to sound calm. When can I start? Right now, if you like. I have 3 dresses in the car. If you can fix them well and quickly, I'll bring you more. She went to her car. She returned with 3 beautiful dresses, one black, one red, one gold. They were made of fine fabrics, delicate, expensive. This one needs waist adjustment, this one needs to be hemmed, and this one has a tear on the side. I need them in 1 week. I'll have them ready, I said. She left. I was left there with those 3 dresses in my hands. They were the finest dresses I had ever touched in my life. I was afraid of ruining them, but I also felt excitement. That night I stayed up late working on the first dress, the black one. I measured, I cut, I sewed, carefully, precisely, every stitch perfect. I finished all 3 dresses in 5 days. I steamed them. I hung them on padded hangers. They looked perfect. I called Mrs. Amy. She came the next day. She checked each dress, one by one. She held them up to the light. She turned them over. She inspected them. Perfect, she finally said. Absolutely perfect. Here you go. She gave me $150 in cash. Then she took a card out of her purse. This is my number. I'm going to send you more work. Much more. You have an extraordinary talent, Mrs. Sweet. Thank you, Mrs. Amy. I won't disappoint you. From that day on, Mrs. Amy became my most important client. She sent me 5 or 6 dresses a week. I fixed them. She paid well. Always. My income increased a lot. Now I earned more than $2,000 a month. Between the shop with Catherine, Mrs. Amy's jobs, and my Social Security check, it was more money than I ever imagined having. I saved almost all of it. I already had more than $8,000 saved. I didn't know what for. I just knew I wanted to have security. I wanted to know that if something happened, I would be fine. Lily would be fine. The months passed. A year had passed since Robert kicked me out of the house. A year since I bought the bus. A year since I started from zero. And now I had more than I had before. Not just in money, in dignity, in respect, in purpose. One afternoon, while I was working at the shop, George, the journalist who interviewed me, came in. "Mrs. Sweet, what a pleasure to see you. How are you doing?" "Well, George, everything is well. What brings you here?" "I want to write another article about you. An update. People want to know how you've been doing since the first story." I accepted. He asked me more questions. He took more photos. Of the shop. Of the fine dresses I was fixing. Of Lily doing her homework in a corner. 2 weeks later, the second article came out. The title said, "1 year later, Sweet Smith goes from the bus to the boutique." The story told everything. How I started, how I grew, how I now had a partnership with Catherine, how I worked for fine boutiques, how my granddaughter was still with me. Happy, studying. The article went viral on social media. People shared it, commented, congratulated me, sent me messages. It was overwhelming. But it was also beautiful. Because my story was reaching people who needed it. People who were going through the same thing I went through. People who needed to know that it could be done. That it's not easy, but it can be done. One of those people was Sarah, the young woman who had visited me months before, the one who wanted to sell food. She returned to the shop, but this time she looked different. She was smiling. "Mrs. Sweet, I did it. I started selling barbecue at the market. And I'm doing well. Very well. Thank you for believing in me." I hugged her. I cried. Because this was more important than any money. This was changing lives. This was giving hope. That night, while Lily slept, I left the bus. I sat on the steps. I looked at the stars. I thought about everything that had happened in a year. I had lost a house, but found a home. I had lost my son, but gained my granddaughter. I had lost my dignity, but recovered it with my own hands. And now I had something that no one could take from me. I had my business. I had my talent. I had my strength. I had my life back. And this time it was a life I chose, that I built, that I deserved. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The air smelled like wet earth, like future, like possibilities. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. A year and a half after Robert kicked me out of the house, my life was completely transformed. The shop with Catherine was doing very well. We had regular clients. Mrs. Amy kept sending me work every week. I was still living on the bus, but no longer out of necessity. Now it was by choice. I had gotten used to it. It was my space, my refuge. I had saved more than $15,000. It was money I guarded carefully, that I counted every night before sleeping. That gave me security. That reminded me that I would never again depend on anyone. Lily was 9 years old now. She was doing well in school. She had friends. She was happy. Every night she told me about her day, about what she learned, about her teachers, about her dreams. And I listened to her. I always listened to her. One Thursday afternoon, while I was working at the shop, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated to answer, but something told me to do it. "Hello?" I answered. "Sweet, it's Jessica, Robert's wife. The one who never liked me, the one who always made me feel like I was in the way. Now she was calling me. What do you want, Jessica? I need to talk to you. It's important. Please." Her voice sounded different, softer, more desperate. I felt curiosity, but also distrust. "Say what you have to say." "No, it has to be in person. Please, sweet. It's about Robert." Silence. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But something in her voice made me hesitate. "Where?" I finally asked. "At the park near the market. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Please come." She hung up before I could answer. I stood there with the phone in my hand. Catherine looked at me worried. "What happened, sweet?" "It was Jessica. She wants to see me tomorrow." "Are you going to go?" "I don't know." That night, I didn't sleep well. I thought about what Jessica could want. Why would she want to see me after so long? Nothing good could come of it. The next day, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to the park. I took Lily with me. I didn't want to leave her alone. Jessica was already there, sitting on a bench. She looked different, thinner, paler, older. When she saw me, she stood up. She looked at Lily, her eyes filled with tears. "Lily, my girl, how you've grown." Lily hid behind me. She didn't recognize her. Or maybe she did, but she no longer felt anything for her. "What do you want, Jessica?" I asked directly. "Sit down, please. I need to tell you something." We sat down. Lily stayed glued to me. Jessica took a deep breath. She wiped her tears. "Robert is sick," she finally said. I felt something in my chest. I didn't know if it was pain or fear or simply surprise. "What does he have?" "Cancer. In his stomach. He's in treatment, but it's expensive. Very expensive. We've spent all our savings. We sold the car. We're about to lose the house. I don't know what to do." "And why are you telling me this?" "Because he wants to see you. He wants to talk to you before it's too late." Too late. Those words hit me. My son was dying. The boy I raised, the one I nursed, the one I cared for when he was sick. Now he was sick again. But I was no longer there to take care of him. "I don't know, Jessica. I don't know if I want to see him." "Please, sweet. I know we hurt you. I know what we did was unforgivable. But he's your son, and he's dying. Give him a chance to ask for your forgiveness." I got up. I couldn't keep listening. It was too much. Too much pain. Too many memories. Too much guilt. "I'll think about it," I said. "Give me a few days." Jessica nodded. She gave me a piece of paper with an address. The address of the hospital where Robert was. Room 312. Please come, even just once. I left there with that paper in my hand. Lily looked at me, worried. Grandma, are you okay? Yes, sweetheart. I'm okay. But it wasn't true. I wasn't okay. My world had just been shaken again. The following days were awful. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat well. I only thought about Robert, about whether I should go see him or not, about whether I should forgive him or not. Martha came to visit me. I told her everything. She listened to me in silence. When I finished, she took my hands. Sweet, only you can decide that. No one can tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you something. Forgiveness is not for him, it's for you, so you can close that chapter and move on without that weight. She was right, as always. On the 5th day, I made a decision. I was going to go. Not for Robert, not for Jessica. For me. Because I needed to close this. I needed to say what I had to say. I needed to let go. I went to the hospital alone. I left Lily with Catherine. I didn't want her to see her father like that. I didn't want her to carry that image. I walked through the hospital corridors. It smelled of disinfectant and illness. I found room 312. I knocked. Jessica opened the door. You came, she said, surprised. Thank you. I went in. The room was small. There was a bed, machines, IV bags, and in the bed was Robert. But it wasn't the Robert I remembered. This Robert was thin, pale, with his hair falling out, with sunken eyes. Mum, he said in a weak voice. I sat in the chair next to the bed. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, waiting. Thank you for coming, he said. I didn't think you would. Me neither. Silence. A heavy silence. Uncomfortable. Full of unspoken things. Mum, I need to ask for your forgiveness, he finally said. For everything. For kicking you out of the house. For treating you like you didn't matter. For being a bad son. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. His words sounded sincere. But I had heard sincere words before. I had believed in promises before. And I always ended up hurt. Why, Robert? I asked. Why did you do it? I don't know, Mum. I guess I was selfish. Stupid. Jessica wanted the space. And I only thought about making her happy. I didn't think about you. I didn't think about what I was doing to you. And now that you're sick, now that you need me, now you think about me. He fell silent. He knew I was right. He knew he was only looking for me because he was desperate. Mum, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said with tears in his eyes. I know I was the worst son in the world, but I'm asking you to forgive me, not for me, but for you, so you can move on without hating me. I don't hate you, Robert, I replied calmly. I hated you for a long time, but not anymore. Now I only feel pity for everything you lost, for everything we could have had and never will. Mum, please. I didn't come here to forgive you, Robert. I came to say goodbye. I got up. He reached out his hand, trying to grab me, but I was already far away. Wait, I need to ask you something else, he said hurriedly. What? I need money. For the treatment. The doctors say there's a surgery that could save me, but it costs $30,000. We don't have anything. Please, Mum. I know you have money. I know you're doing well. Please help me. There it was. The real reason. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't closing wounds. It was money. It was money again. I felt anger. I felt pain. I felt disappointment. But more than anything, I felt clarity. "No, Robert," I said in a firm voice. "I'm not going to give you money. But I'm going to die." "We're all going to die. Some sooner than others. But that doesn't give you the right to ask me for anything. When you kicked me out of your house, you didn't care if I was going to starve to death on the street. When you took away my home, you didn't care if I had anything to survive with. Now you have problems, and you want me to save you. But I'm no longer that woman. I am no longer the mother who sacrifices herself for a son who doesn't value her. Mom, please, I'm your son. And I was your mother, and that didn't matter." I walked toward the door. Jessica blocked my path. "Sweet, please, think about it. He's your son. Your only son." "Exactly. He's my only son. And he chose to treat me like garbage. Now he has to live with that decision, just like I had to live with his." I walked out of that room. I walked through the hospital corridors. I went out into the street. I breathed the fresh air. And I cried. I cried for everything that could have been and wasn't. I cried for the son I had and lost. I cried for the mother I was and was no longer. But I also felt something else. I felt freedom. I felt peace. I felt that I had finally closed that door that for so long kept me tied to a painful past. I went back to the shop. Catherine saw me arrive, and she knew. She didn't ask anything. She just hugged me. "It's done," I told her. "It's over." And it was true. It was over. After leaving the hospital, I never heard from Robert or Jessica again. They didn't look for me anymore. They didn't call. They didn't insist. And I didn't ask. I didn't want to know if he continued the treatment, if he got better, if he got worse. I simply let go. It was difficult the first few days. I felt guilty. I wondered if I had done the right thing, if I should have helped him, if I should have been more compassionate. But every time those thoughts came, I remembered. I remembered the day he kicked me out. I remembered his cold face when he took the keys from me. I remembered how he didn't care where I was going to sleep. And then the guilt went away. Martha visited me often. She brought me coffee. She listened to me. She reminded me that I had made the right decision. "Sweet, you didn't deny him anything that he hadn't denied you first. You just set boundaries. And that's not cruelty. That's self-love." She was right. She was right again. The months passed. My life continued its course. The shop was doing better and better. Catherine and I already had plans to open a second location. Mrs. Amy kept sending me work. Now she was also recommending me to her friends, rich women who needed alterations on expensive clothes. I was still living on the bus, but now I had improved it a lot. It had new curtains, a small fan, a nice lamp, shelves to organize everything. It no longer looked like an abandoned bus. It looked like a home. Lily turned 10 years old. We had a party at the shop. We invited Catherine, Martha, and some friends from school. I bought a big cake, decorations, gifts. Lily was happy. That happiness filled me more than anything else. One afternoon while I was working, I received another call. Again, an unknown number. I answered with caution. "Hello? Mrs. Sweet Smith?" "Yes, who is speaking?" "I'm Dr. Lewis from Central Hospital. I'm calling about your son, Robert Smith." I felt my stomach clench. I knew what was coming. "What happened to him?" I asked in a neutral voice. "I regret to inform you that Mr. Smith passed away this morning. His wife gave us your number as a family contact. We need someone to come sign some documents and pick up his belongings." Robert was dead. My son was dead. The words sounded unreal, as if I were hearing them from afar. "I understand," I replied. "I'll go tomorrow." I hung up. I sat down. I took a deep breath. Catherine looked at me worried. What happened, sweet? Robert died. Catherine approached. She hugged me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I didn't know if I wanted to. That night I told Lily. She didn't cry either. She just looked at me with those big eyes and asked, "Grandma, are you sad?" I don't know, sweetheart. I don't know what I feel. It's okay not to know. It's okay to feel weird things. I hugged her. This 10-year-old girl was wiser than many adults. The next day I went to the hospital. I signed the documents. They gave me a bag with Robert's belongings, a watch, a wallet, a phone, nothing else. That was all that was left of him. Jessica was there. She looked destroyed. When she saw me, she approached. Sweet. Thank you for coming. I only came to sign. Nothing else. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything that happened. You're right to hate me. I don't hate you, Jessica. I don't hate anyone anymore. I just want to live in peace. I left there. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't want to. I knew it was selfish. I knew people were going to judge me. But I didn't care. I had already done my grieving. I had already closed that door. The following weeks were strange. I felt empty, but not sad. It was a weird feeling, as if something had truly ended, as if I could finally breathe completely. A month after the funeral, Jessica appeared at the shop. She had an envelope in her hand. "Sweet, I need to give you this," she said, extending it. "What is it?" "It's the deed to the house where you lived. Robert left it in your name in his will. He said it was the least he could do." I took the envelope. I opened it. There it was. The deed to the house. My house. The house where I raised Robert. The house he kicked me out of. Now it was mine again. But something strange happened. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel victory. I only felt indifference. "I don't want it," I said, returning the envelope to her. Jessica looked at me confused. "How can you not want it? It's your house, sweet." "It was my house. It's not anymore. That house has too many painful memories. I don't want to go back there ever." "But it's worth money. You can sell it. You can use it for your business." I thought about it for a moment. She was right. I could sell the house, use that money to open another location, to expand the business, to give Lily more opportunities. "All right," I finally said. "I'll sell it, but I'm not setting foot in there ever again." I sold the house 2 months later. They gave me $45,000. It was a lot of money, more money than I ever imagined having. I added it to my savings. Now I had more than $60,000. Catherine and I opened the second location. It was bigger, nicer. We hired 2 young women to help us. I taught them to sew, to do alterations, to treat clients with respect. One of them was Sarah, the young woman who had come to ask for my advice months ago, the one who started selling barbecue. Now she wanted to learn to sew, and I was teaching her, because that's how it works. Someone helps you, you help someone else, and the cycle continues. The following months were the best of my life. The business was incredible. We had more clients than we could handle. We had to hire 1 more girl. The shop was always full of life, of laughter, of women working together. I was still living on the bus, but now it was neither out of necessity nor by choice. It was out of comfort. I liked waking up there. I liked that space. It was my safe place. One afternoon, while I was closing the shop, a man came in. He was older, about 60 years old, well-dressed. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Mrs. Sweet Smith." "That's me. How can I help you?" "My name is Arthur Davis. I'm an investor." I've been following your story since the first article in the newspaper, and I would like to make you a business proposal. Another proposal. This was becoming routine. Tell me, Mr. Arthur. I want to invest in your business. I want to help you expand, to open more locations, maybe even a school where you teach your trade to other women. I have the capital. You have the talent and the story. Together we can build something big. I looked at him with distrust. I had learned to distrust proposals that sounded too good. Why would you want to do that? What do you gain? I gain the knowledge that I am investing in something worthwhile, in someone worthwhile. And yes, I also earn money, because your business has potential, a lot of potential. I need to think about it, I said. Give me some time. Of course. Here's my card. Call me when you decide. He left. I was left there with that card in my hand, thinking, analyzing, doubting. That night I talked to Martha, with Catherine, with Lily. I told them about the proposal. I listened to their opinions, their fears, their hopes. In the end, I decided to investigate Mr. Arthur. I looked for information about him, his past investments, his reputation. Everything came up clean. Everything was legitimate. 2 weeks later, I called him. Mr. Arthur, this is Sweet Smith. I accept your proposal, but with conditions. Tell me. I maintain creative control. I decide how the work is done, how the employees are treated, how everything is managed. You put up the money, I put in the work, but the final decisions are mine. That sounds fair to me. I accept your conditions. And so, a new stage began, a stage I never imagined, a stage where I was no longer just a seamstress. I was an entrepreneur, a boss, a mentor, but more than all that, I was something more important. I was a woman who had lifted herself from the ground, who had built something out of nothing, who had turned her pain into power. And no one could ever take that from me. Never. 3 years after Robert kicked me out of the house, my life was unrecognizable. We had 5 locations throughout the city, more than 20 women working with me. A school where we taught sewing to women who needed a new beginning. Everything I built with my own hands. Lily was 13 years old. She still got good grades. She wanted to study fashion design. I told her she could study whatever she wanted, that I would always support her. We no longer lived on the bus. I had bought a small house, nothing luxurious, but it was ours, with a yard where Lily played, with a room for each of us, with a kitchen where we cooked together. But I kept the bus. I left it on the land where it always was. Sometimes I would go visit it, to sit in those seats that I once cleaned with my own hands, to remember where I came from. One Saturday morning, while I was drinking coffee in my house, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was Jessica. She looked different. Older, more tired, sweet. Sorry for coming without calling, she said nervously. What do you need, Jessica? I just wanted to see you, to tell you something. I let her in. I offered her coffee. We sat in the living room. I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened, she said, looking at her cup. About how we treated you, about what we did to you. And I want to apologize. Truly. Not for Robert. For me. I was the one who pressured him to kick you out. I was the one who always made you feel bad. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Her words sounded sincere. I could see the regret in her eyes. Thank you for saying that, Jessica, I replied calmly. I forgive you. Not for you. For me. Because I don't want to carry that weight anymore. She cried. I didn't. I had no tears left for that. I've seen everything you've accomplished, she continued. In the newspaper, in the news. You are incredible, sweet. You always were, and I was very foolish for not seeing it. She left after that. I watched her walk away through the window, and I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no sadness, just indifference, because it didn't matter anymore. The following week, I was invited to give a conference at an event for women entrepreneurs. At first, I said no, that I wasn't good at public speaking. But Martha insisted. Your story needs to be told, sweet. There are thousands of women who need to hear it. I accepted. On the day of the conference, there were more than 200 women in the auditorium. My hands were trembling, my palms were sweating. But I went up to the stage, and I spoke. I told them everything. How my son kicked me out with only $580. How I bought a broken bus. How I started sewing on the market floor. How I built my business stitch by stitch. How I got up when everyone thought I would stay down. When I finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. Women cried, others smiled. Others just looked at me with admiration. After the conference, many came up to me. They told me their stories, their struggles, their fears, and I listened to them. Every single one, because I knew what it was like not to be heard, and I didn't want anyone to feel that way. The months kept passing, my business kept growing. But more than that, my purpose grew. It was no longer just about sewing. It was about giving opportunities, about changing lives, about showing that it's never too late to start over. One day while I was working in my office, I received a package. I opened it. Inside there was a letter and an old photograph. The photo was of Robert when he was a child, smiling, innocent. The letter was from him, written before he died. Mum, if you are reading this, it's because I'm gone. I want you to know that I always loved you, even though I didn't show it, even though I hurt you. You were always the best mother, and I was the worst son. Forgive me. Be happy. You deserve it more than anyone. I cried reading that letter, not out of sadness, but out of closure, out of peace, because I could finally let go of everything. I put the letter in a drawer, along with the photo, and I closed that chapter forever. Today, I am 65 years old, 3 years older than when everything started. But I look like a different person, not just on the outside, on the inside. I have a successful business, a house of my own, money in the bank. But more than that, I have dignity, I have respect, I have peace. Lily is about to enter college. She wants to study fashion design, as she always dreamed. And I will be there, supporting her, always. Sometimes I think about everything I lost, the house, my son, the years I wasted being invisible. But then I think about everything I gained, and I realize that it was worth it. Because I lost a house, but gained a home. I lost a son who didn't value me, but gained a granddaughter who loves me. I lost my place in the world, but built a new one, a place where I decide, where I rule, where I matter, and that place is mine. No one gave it to me, I built it, with these wrinkled hands, with these precise stitches, with this silent strength that I never knew I had. I am no longer the woman who cried in the park, not knowing what to do. Now I am Sweet Smith, entrepreneur, mentor, survivor. And if there's one thing I learned in these 3 years, it's this. Life can take everything from you, your house, your family, your dignity, but there is something it can never take from you, your ability to get up, your inner strength, your will to keep going. That is yours, only yours, and no one, Absolutely no one can take it away from you. Today I look back and see the entire journey, the nights on the bus, the smell of mold, the aching hands, the fear, the uncertainty, and I wouldn't change anything, because that pain taught me, that fall strengthened me, that darkness showed me my own light. They never heard my cries. Now they hear my silence, the silence of a woman who no longer needs to ask permission to exist, who no longer waits for others to validate her, who no longer begs for love where there is none, because I finally understood something. I didn't need them to see me. I only needed to see myself. And when I did, everything changed.